This is a hammer, a simple everyday tool that most Australians have used at some point in their lives. You use it to drive nails into timber, fix furniture, and hang a picture on the wall, or even knock something into place. It's found in garages, utes, toolboxes all over the country, and you can buy one at any hardware store. No questions asked, no license, no permit, no police checks, no storage requirements. Now, this is a firearm. It has no bolt, no magazine, no ammunition, and it can't be loaded, it cannot be fired. It's less dangerous than a broomstick. But under Australian law, this boltless, unloaded firearm is treated as prohibited or regulated weapon, and if you store it incorrectly or transport it the wrong way, or if you don't hold the correct license for it, well, you could face criminal charges. Meanwhile, the hammer, nothing. You could walk down the street with it, swing it around, or leave it on the front seat of your car, and no one would even blink. So let me ask you this question. Which one is actually more dangerous? So to test this question, I ran a very simple community poll on my channel. No context was given, no politics, no nothing. What's more dangerous, a boltless, unloaded firearm or a common household hammer? Well, the result, out of 82 votes, 99% said the hammer is more dangerous, and only 1% picked the firearm. So let that sink in. This wasn't a staged result. This was a real question asked to real people, and overwhelmingly, majority said the same thing. Common sense says that a hammer in the wrong hands is more dangerous than a firearm that can't even function. And yet, our legislation doesn't reflect that reality. So why is that? Why do we have laws that criminalize inoperable firearms but completely ignore potential harm of other everyday objects? It comes down to one word: perception. We've been trained over the decades to associate firearms with fear. Thanks to the media, Hollywood, and even the political rhetoric, many people think that the moment you see a firearm, somebody is about to die. They see a gun and their brain goes, oh my God, straight to mass shootings, crime scenes, and chaos. But what we never talk about are legal, licensed, and responsible firearm owners in this country. People who train, people who store their firearms securely, and people who follow the law to the letter and who have never posed a risk to anybody. The firearm isn't dangerous on its own. The context matters, the intent matters, the user matters. But none of that is part of the conversation in mainstream Australia. Because fear sells, fear gets votes, and fear distracts people from asking better questions. So let's back this up with some facts in Australia. The majority of firearm-related deaths are not from murders. They are suicides. In fact, according to the Australian Institute of Health and Wellbeing, about 77% of firearm deaths are self-inflicted. And when it comes to crime, well, the vast majority of firearm offences are committed with illegal, unregistered firearms. Not gun owners, not by licensed shooters. So compare that number of injuries and deaths caused by blunt force trauma. Things like hammers, baseball bats, crowbars, bricks, and even fists. While firearm-related incidences, especially homicides and mass shootings, often receive extensive media coverage due to their high-profile nature, incidents resulting in blunt objects may not attract the same level of attention. This discrepancy can influence public perception, leading to an overestimation of prevalence of firearm-related violence compared to other forms of violence. In Australia, mental health challenges are very widespread and deeply underaddressed. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, nearly 1 in 5, that's right, 1 in 5 Australians experience mental health disorder in any given year. Depression, anxiety, and substance abuse disorders are among the most common. Despite growing awareness, many people still struggle to access timely and affordable support, particularly in those regional and rural areas, when access to mental health care is limited. And for those who do have access to lethal means, the outcome is often fatal. That's why firearm-related suicides isn't a gun issue. I'll say that again. It isn't a gun issue. It's a mental health crisis, and laws that focus on the objects rather than the people miss the heart of the problem. Now let's take a look how the law actually works. In Queensland, the Weapons Licensing Act of 1990 regulates firearm possession. The Act defines a firearm to include any part of the firearm, and possessing such a part without the relevant authority is an offence. It's important to note that while these laws are similar across the various states, there may be differences in those definitions of penalties and how each state and territory enforces it. That means if you inherit an old hunting rifle from a relative and you don't report it correctly, well, you know what? You could end up being fined or prosecuted. Meanwhile, the hammer, no rules, no regulations. You can use it to intimidate somebody, leave it lying around your house, or even carry it in your backpack, and there'd be zero consequence until an actual crime was committed. The firearm doesn't need to be used. It doesn't need to pose a threat. The law doesn't care. If it looks scary or it fits that definition on paper, that's enough to get you charged. This is a real problem. We are legislating based on emotion, not logic. We're not asking what is actually dangerous. We're asking what makes people feel uncomfortable. And when the laws are written that way, innocent people get punished. Responsible people get treated like criminals. And the actual sources of danger, like illegal guns, organized crime, and domestic violence, goes unchecked. We need to stop pretending that regulation equals safety, because right now, all it does is create red tape and, of course, waste police time. And we are getting punished, the law-abiding citizens. A boltless firearm sitting in a safe is not dangerous. A hammer in the wrong hands is dangerous, but our laws treat those objects in reverse. That should make you ask some questions. That should make you think. If you agree that our laws need to be based on facts, not fear, please share this video. And if you're tired of seeing responsible shooters treated like criminals, speak up, because now is the time to do so. And if you got a story, please drop it down in the comments and let's get the conversation going, because the only way that we're going to fix these broken laws is to challenge the broken logic. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and, of course, stay smart. And I'll see you in the next one.